Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we have a new game sent in. This one was sent by Adorn Alignment, and he's playing as the white pieces in this game, and he's rated 1067. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this one. Okay, e4, e6, we got a French defense, d4, d5, advanced variation. Okay, and here black plays knight to c6. So this isn't the typical continuation. Typically, best is usually c5, immediately hitting the pawn center. And that's usually what you want to do, because you need to hit this center. Otherwise, white's going to have a lot of extra space, and you're not going to be able to really counter it. It's going to be difficult to get counterplay. So c5 is a very important move. And with c6, now it's not as easy to get. Also, another thing is, after c5, it's very easy to pile pressure onto d4. You know, you got the knight that you can put on c6 behind the pawn on c5, which adds pressure, and then also queen to b6, so you can get a lot of pressure on this pawn. And sometimes you can, win it if your opponent isn't paying attention, or if he's not up on the theory enough. Okay, knight c6. So with the knight on c6, eventually, usually the best next break would be f6. Knight f3, and here black should go ahead with f6 because he couldn't get c5. So he needs to counter this center. He needs to weaken it. But he plays h6. Okay. Knight to c3, and let's hear a6, bishop d3. This is usually the best diagonal for this bishop to be on in the French defense, so bishop d3 is good. h5. So my question is, why are we moving this pawn a second time in the opening, and the h pawn at that? I think that you should usually play in the center during the opening and try to get out all of your pieces. That's usually the best. Okay, and also the other thing is you moved it a second time. Usually you don't want to push pawns twice in the opening because you want to be using that time to get all your pieces out. h3. Okay, and knight h6, and bishop takes on h6. So in this position, the bishop for knight is probably an even trade, probably, because the bishops are faster, but in this position this is the bad bishop because the pawns are on dark squares. And also knights are typically better in closed centers, so giving up the bishop pair isn't such a big deal. The problem though that I see with this move is you're exchanging off a piece. And when you make exchanges, typically that's better for the side with less space. And in this position, white definitely has more space. His pawn's made it to the 5th row, whereas black's pawn has only made it to his 4th row. So white's pawn has made it to his 5th, black has only made it, to his 4th row. Yes, it's on the 5th row, but you know what I mean, to his 4th row. Anyways, so exchanges would be better for black because it would ease his position. Okay. Rook takes on h6. Queen to d2. Bishop e7. And castling queenside. So the only thing I'm thinking is it might be slightly safer to go kingside, because a lot of times in the French defense, black's counterplay comes to the queen side. And if you see the center's kind of closed and these pawns are pointing to the queen side, usually you want to follow the pawns. So that's where black is going to be planning to go. And on the king side, you don't really have anything to fear over here because black doesn't have enough pieces to really support an attack. Maybe this pawn's advanced, maybe this rook can come over, but I think it's difficult for him to maneuver anything really happening on the king side. Whereas on the queen side, there's potentials for b5 and c5, and then maybe trying to counterattack. But at the same time, castling definitely is still good either way, because you're still getting your king out of the center and you're still developing. So castling queenside is still good. b5. So yeah, that's the only danger though, is I think it's a little bit easier for black to get a pawn storm rolling. But again, not really too much danger still, because not very many pieces can contribute to an attack. King b1. Oh, okay, and now it's story time, everyone, because I'm about to tell you a story about when I started playing chess. So when I started playing, like first started learning openings, and started like playing online and things like that, so I would play the Rosser Sicilian, which you wind up with kind of a similar, queenside, castling, queen on d2. And what would happen to me when I would play this way is very frequently there'd be a bishop and queen, and they would be able to play bishop to g5 and pin my queen to my king. Yeah, and that's when I was little there. So it doesn't happen to me so much anymore, so you probably shouldn't try to do that against me now. But just wanted to share that story with you. Yeah. So that's one thing also to watch out for when your king and queen are lined up like this. Watch out for pins. Alright. So king b1, that's a good idea. That way you get your king a little bit safer off of this diagonal, and you won't wind up like new to chess me when I was learning. Okay. Bishop b4. Pinning the knight to the queen. Okay, g1. Knight a5, a3. Yeah. I don't like pushing pawns in front of my king, but I mean, you have the opportunity to get rid of that pin, and I mean, that pin is annoying, so it's good to get rid of it somehow. So a3 is good in that case, because you need to get rid of that pin. That's kind of annoying. Okay, c6. So c6 I don't like so much, because if you ever watch The Simpsons, you may know of the episode where Lisa says that a blockaded bishop is of little value. And right now, this bishop on c8 is very blocked in, and pushing c6 puts another pawn on a light square, making it further blocked in and blockaded, and of even lesser value than it was before. So Lisa Simpson wouldn't be very happy with this move. A suggestion that I would give would be knight c4, because then this knight is pretty well outposted. And, there's no real good way to get rid of it immediately, because obviously, b3 pushing would either weaken the king or lose this pawn. And even if you play like king a2 and then push, still would be weakening the king's position. And in addition, if you took, maybe b takes, and then, maybe this rook gets this open file. So there's not really a great way to get rid of that knight immediately. So that would be my suggestion. Okay, the game, c6 is played, and then let's see here. Rook e3, f6, and then e takes, and now this rook has an open file, well, semi-open file, and this pawn is now a little bit of a target. Okay. Queen c5. What I would think is, since this pawn is now a little bit of a target, why don't we just gang up on it? Rook d to e1, maybe bishop to f5 since it's pinned to the king here. If possible, unless he moves out of the pin or gets rid of it somehow. But yeah, so those are some possibilities. Queen c5. Okay. Knight to b7. And here, white could just take this pawn. Because it's just hanging with check. Queen c3. Okay. a5. Okay. b3. Don't know if that's necessary because you're pushing pawns in front of the king, and sometimes when you push the pawns, that can make them easier to target during pawn storms. Okay, queen d6, knight h4, and the threat, say we make a bad move for black, say just nothing move, knight f5, forking queen and rook. Okay. So, that's the threat of knight to h4. Okay. And black makes bad move. He plays f5, which doesn't stop this move because this pawn is still pinned. So the knight can just take, and we still get the fork as well. So we win a pawn plus the fork, even better. Okay. Queen to f4. Knight takes on h6. Now won the exchange. Or just win the rook, actually, I guess, because it doesn't take. Yeah, he takes the pawn here. Alright, well then. Okay, he took the pawn. Queen takes c6. King e7. Rook e5. Bishop d7, and then I can just take the knight. Rook to c8. Knight to f5 check, since yeah, this pin's in effect here. Can't take. King to d8. Okay, and right here, bishop takes on b5. Maybe a little too greedy, or a little too fast. Maybe playing without thinking about all the possibilities. Because after bishop takes b5, black is now winning. So white went from winning to losing in one move. Queen takes c2 check. King a1. Queen takes d1. And then this is where the game ends, because white resigned. But there's only one move from checkmate, so king a2, rook c2, and that would be checkmate. All right, so yeah, this was an interesting game. So a few things to pick up on this is if you're playing the French defense, you should know don't put the knight on c6 until after playing c5, and that's if you play as the black side of this. Yeah, so that's one thing you should definitely keep in mind if you're black. The other thing is you can be smart and play king to b1 if your king and queen are on the same diagonal, avoiding any dangers that could potentially happen. And then also one other thing is don't be too greedy, and take your time to really think about things, because on this move, you know, right here, white's crushing. Here, white is now losing. So that's one of the things about chess. You can go from winning to losing in one move. So that's why you always have to be careful and always watch out for what your opponent can do. Yeah, because being too greedy sometimes can throw you from winning to losing just like that. So yeah, be patient. Don't be too greedy. That's one other thing to remember. Alright, so I think that's going to be good for this video. Until then, everyone, send me more games. Alright, thanks. Oh, and thanks for sending me this game, by the way. Alright, until next time, thanks for watching. Bye.